Joining me now is Peter Pitts. He is the former FDA Associate Commissioner. He's also the president and co-founder of the Center for Medicine in the Public Interest. Thanks so much for joining us, Peter.
My pleasure, Michelle.
All right, Peter, let's start off with the anti-malaria drugs. There's a lot of controversy over the use of hydroxychloroquine. Now, keeping in mind, this drug has been used for around 80 years, certainly not a new drug. We do have certain medical groups like the American Thoracic Society advising the use of it for pneumonia, which, as we know, develops as a result of the coronavirus or can develop as a result of it. Other medical groups cautioning against using it without further testing. Peter, why is this drug generating so much controversy?
Well, you're right. Chloroquine has been around for a long time, treating malaria and conditions like lupus and rheumatoid arthritis, and very successfully. The data that shows its effectiveness relative to COVID-19 is anecdotal, and that's not enough. The plural of anecdote isn't data. That being said, we need to bring all the weapons we have to bear right now on this virus immediately. So what the FDA has done is issued what's called an emergency use authorization, which means that physicians can use chloroquine to treat patients at their discretion for COVID, while simultaneously we are collecting data from traditional randomized controlled clinical trials. That's called parallel tracking. And what's interesting is that began in the 1980s as we began to develop drugs for HIV/AIDS, and the public health official behind that concept was none other than Anthony Fauci.
So where do you stand personally on the use of hydrochloroquine? Do you support using it in certain cases, even though there's mostly anecdotal data to support its effectiveness with regards to coronavirus?
I support giving physicians the authority to make their own decisions. Clearly, This isn't for everybody. 85% of people that get corona will get over it by themselves at home with plenty of rest and liquid and some tender loving care if that's available. These types of products, the products that currently exist that are being repurposed, as well as products currently under development, experimental medicines, really are for extremely ill people in hospital, older people, people with pre-existing conditions. So if the doctor tells you that you've got COVID-19, don't ask for these products. You'll be told whether or not you qualify. And if you're going home to ride out the course of the disease, you don't qualify.
Right. Certainly shouldn't self-medicate with that. All right. You did advocate for plenty of liquids, rest, and TLC. Beyond that, Peter, what treatment for the more severe cases are you most optimistic about at the moment?
Well, I'm very optimistic about convalescent plasma, as you mentioned. This is not a new concept. This has been used for hundreds of years. It was the basic concept behind the smallpox vaccine from the 18th century. We have got to develop the tests so that they can be done more broadly, so we know who's gotten through the tunnel and is now able to go back to work and have their antibodies harvested for inoculations. Not necessarily a cure, but something that can definitely ameliorate the severity of the disease. And in about 10 months to a year, I think we'll have a vaccine. There are a number of companies around the world working very hard. We have a lot of good shots on goal, so I'm pretty optimistic.
There was a lot of hope placed on Gilead's antiviral remdesivir. A big study is awaited on the efficacy there. What's your outlook, Peter?
I think a lot of the antiviral drugs, those existing and those under development, like the Gilead products, hold tremendous promise. Whether it's products for HIV/AIDS or Ebola, we understand the potency of these antiviral medications, and it makes common sense that they should be used in the battle against COVID-19. But then again, there's no data. So on the one hand, we'll collect that in real time once doctors begin to use this, real solid, real world evidence, while simultaneously going to the more traditional studies. But we can't wait months or years for solid scientific data the old-fashioned way. We've got to do that and also start testing these products in real time with patients. The situation is just too severe and too dire to do it the old-fashioned way. And the FDA and physicians and the CDC and doctors and medical societies are all pulling in the right direction, and that's sign for hope.
All right, very quickly, Peter, do you see any long-term changes in the way that treatments and vaccines could be developed as a result of this?
Well, there's been a long ongoing conversation about better ways to do vaccines. There's solid science behind new technologies. Now we've got to embrace it. We can't wait for the next crisis to think about thinking outside the box. We've got to do that right now. So hopefully, as we come towards a COVID-19 vaccine, we can do these things more regularly, more swiftly, with greater quality.
All right, we'll see if there are some long-term changes in this entire process. Peter, thank you so much. Peter,
My pleasure.
Appreciate it.